In this video, I'll be covering every single team I could find for Ayaka with their substitutes, and give you my thoughts on each team so by the end of the video, you'll be able to make a team for her and get ready for a rerun. If even after that you have any questions, please let me know, and with that, let's begin. Let's start with Ayaka's strongest teams, which are her freeze teams. There are many variations for Ayaka Freeze and almost every single one of them can easily clear the abyss. Basically pair her up with any Hydra character like Kokomi, Mona, Sinchu, Yalan, and even Barber can work. Other characters like Ayato or Child can work as well, but the rotations are a bit different as you can play them on field as well. Now each character has its pros and cons, and some may be better than the other one depending on your other team members or depending on your account, like which characters you have available and stuff like that. But generally, people prefer Kokomi if you have her because of the better Hydra application and her being able to use Thrilling Tales and the extra healing. Though Mona is also pretty good and will allow your Ayaka to do even more damage, more than Kokomi because Mona's burst, it's really good for freeze teams, but has worse Hydra application and no heals, which may be fine if you have Diona as your second Cryo character, but I personally would still prefer Kokomi because of the better Hydra application. For your third and fourth character, you have many characters to choose from. So usually you would have a second Cryo character, not only for the energy, but also the Cryo resonance, which gives Ayaka even more crit rate. So it could be Shenhe, which will greatly increase your Ayaka's damage. If you have Shenhe, make sure you use her with Ayaka. It's a really good pair. And you can also use someone like Diona or Rosaria giving even more extra crit rate, so you can just add as much crit damage as you can on your Ayaka. Then Layla works fine as well, but then if her shield breaks, you're not gonna get any energy particles from her, which can be a bummer. So in this case, I think Diona is a bit better, but even then, your Layla can work fine too. But just make sure she has a really beefy shield. And other characters like Kaya or Chonghyun can also work here. Basically, you need a character to, give her with Cryo Resonance and energy. Some characters don't, give as much energy, like for example, Ganyu. But Ganyu is a really good choice because her burst can actually give Ayaka more cryo damage bonus. You may have to focus a bit more on her energy recharge and having to use Ganyu's skill now and then. She has a passive which actually gives your active character cryo damage bonus. So after using Ganyu's burst, you can actually switch to Ayaka and then use her burst and do even more damage. Finally, for your fourth character, it can be any support. It's better if you have an animal character to first of all buff Ayaka, and second, what I find more important is grouping smaller enemies. Ayaka is great, like really good, but as soon as you miss Ayaka's burst, it can be really annoying and it's really hard to hit many enemies with her burst. So you really want to group them together first and then freeze them in place to use Ayaka's burst. If you were to miss Ayaka's burst, it can be really annoying and can, ruin your abyss rotations. And so yeah, you really need Ayaka burst to hit whoever you're fighting. So Kazuha, Venti, Sucrose all work really well here. You could also use Bennett too, but I think grouping is more important. Also, I wanted to clear up the difference between Mona and Kokomi. As I told you before, between Mona and Kokomi, I prefer Kokomi. And if you do decide to use Kokomi, it's better if your second Cryo character is Diona because you already have the heals. And likewise for Mona, it's better if you have a healer. It's not important, it's not like you must, but it's just that, it makes the team more easier to play, I guess. But if you're using Kokomi, you should have something like Rosaria, Ganyu, or Shenhe. Just avoid using Layla or Diana because you don't need the shields. You already have an amazing healer, which is Kokomi. So don't make that mistake. But other than that, this team is a really good team. The only downside it has is against bosses or enemies that cannot be frozen. First of all, you're losing 20% crit rate from, Ayaka's Blizzard Strayer set. And then second, them not being able to be frozen makes it harder for you to hit your burst and can be a bit annoying. But other than that, the team is really amazing. If you were to modify the team, what people usually do is, when they're fighting bosses, is they remove the Hydra character and instead get another Cryo character and make it a mono Cryo team. Either they have 3 Cryo characters, 1 animal character, or have 4 Cryo characters. Like Shenhe is a main pick, Diona is also really good, Rosaria for more quick rate, just like that. But honestly, I don't like this team because Freeze is just so much better. I would only consider using it if, there was this floor where, the enemy boss cannot be frozen, then I might consider using it. Freeze is just so good, like why should you use Mono Cryo if you can just use Freeze? Next up are her Melt teams, which are also not bad. I think the Freeze teams are a bit better, but even the Melt teams are viable. You don't have as many choices. You can use a team like this with Ayaka, Zhangling, Bennett, Sucrose, and Sucrose can be replaced by Kazuha or vice versa. You can't really use Blizzard's Ray here, so no extra crit rate, which is a big bummer. Which is mainly the reason why I like the Freeze team so much more, is because I don't need to care about the crit rate. Here, you're gonna give Ayaka a 2-piece Blizzard with 2-piece Noblesse or any other 2-piece that can provide you with extra burst damage or attack. And not all of your bursts will melt here because of the ICD. You can also just, run double Cryo instead of the animal character. Here, your second Cryo character is just there for Cryo Resonance and energy and basically supporting your Ayaka and dealing some damage. So, an ideal pick would be Rosaria. She gives energy and also does quite a bit of damage and gives you extra crit rate. Also, someone like Ganyu could work here, but Ganyu doesn't produce as much energy and may or may not steal some of your, melts. Shenhe is also a really good choice because, well, Shenhe, she is made for Cryo units, so you can add her as well. Another way you can play Ayaka Melt teams is by having a Pyro DPS in your Melt team. So like Hu Tao, Yanfei, or Yaoimiya to be on field after you use Ayaka's burst, you switch to your Pyro DPS, which is mainly how I play Ayaka Melt. Whenever I do play Ayaka Melt, I use this method instead of the other ones. So I use Hu Tao and Ayaka together. That's basically, if I find it really fun to use Hu Tao and Ayaka together. For those teams, your third and fourth character depend on your Pyro DPS or what you want to prioritize. Like maybe you can add Bennett, Kazuha, a second Cryo character. They're all good choices. Like for example, if your Ayaka needs more energy, she's having problem, having her burst rate at all times, then you can probably have a second Cryo character. Or what people do maybe is have Kazuha and swirl the Cryo with, Ayaka's burst. Or you could also have Sincho like I have. So even if Ayaka doesn't have her burst ready, I still have Hu Tao and Sincho to deal the damage until Ayaka is ready. But I have enough energy for Ayaka to burst every single time, so Sincho is just a plus, and yeah, it's just a really good team. Next, what I want to talk about is the new Nahida Melt team with Ayaka. You've probably seen it with Ganyu, but it also seems to work with Ayaka. The team itself though is really strict with its characters, so first of all, you need Nahida to have that constant pyro application, which sounds wrong, but here it's Nahida which really makes it possible. And then you need Kazuha, and finally a pyro character that can apply any an instance of pyro. And the best option here is Bennett. Bennett will buff Ayaka and also be able to apply pyro. This team can be really strong, and if you all remember the Freeze team's weakness, which was the unfreezable enemies, here the damage for that small period can be really high. But you cannot replace the characters, and it is a very expensive team. I still think it's better to play her Freeze teams. But if you have the characters available for this team, then sure, go ahead. It's not a bad team. It's actually a pretty good team and can be really strong. Finally, I want to talk about Ayaka Fridge and Hyper Fridge. It's basically your generic Fridge or Hyper Fridge team, but you replace the Cryo unit with Ayaka. Her Fridge teams, honestly, when I tried it out, it wasn't that bad. I thought it wouldn't be that good, but it felt really good. Both these teams though don't really need Ayaka. Just by themselves, these teams do really good. One issue you might have is Ayaka's energy, because Ayaka does require a battery if you want to, burst effectively every rotation, which can be solved by adding a second Cryo character instead of, the fourth Flex character. Kazuha, which is one downside, and honestly not worth it. Kazuha is really important in this team, like grouping enemies for Ayaka, for the seeds and all of that. I think it's really important for Kazuha to be there and to be able to group the enemies. And so I think it's better if you have Kazuha and not have a second Cryo character. And for the Hyper Fridge, it's kind of the same. I don't know what to say about these teams. Like, there's not much to say. I feel like they're more for people who just want to use Ayaka in different teams. They want to try things out. Like, if you have Ganyu, she's just a much better option for these kind of teams. It's just, if you have Ayaka, play her free teams, or if you really want to, you can play Melt. Melt is pretty good as well. I don't think you should be playing these Fridge and Hyper Fridge teams, even though they kind of work. I'm not saying they don't. If you want to play them, you can, but I'm just saying if you really wanted to beat the Abyss and if you're having trouble, then you should probably go for the Freeze teams. and focus on building those teams. Anyways, I think that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully all of this helped. Again, if you have any questions about anything, do let me know. But yeah, that's all, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.